just don't know whether we should give up property.
I can't hear, and if I'm not looking at the mouse, I can do this.
This one.
And I have lots of people. I'll have to go sit. Do you mind if I sit next
No,
to you?
not at all. You can even take the comfy chairs if you want.
Well, my feet touch the floor.
It's
sexy
fair
for
enough.
life. But I wear hearing aids, and if I'm not breathing lips, I can't hear.
Fair enough.
All right, we're gonna call this petition to vacate or Mr. Craig, would you like to join the table, please?
Sorry. Hi, my name is Mark Krieg, and I just want to let you guys know your jobs are safe. I don't want any part of this, what I just saw. No, I'm good. I went to Mr. Lindell, the attorney over here, to have a portion of the alleyway vacated because I have some, is it okay if I give you guys pictures?
Sure.
Yes.
I think they're in here.
Yeah, they have all that. It's all on the iPads.
Oh, you've got the pictures too? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, just in case, there you go, Keith. And-
I'll take one.
Okay. Good, I got one left over. Basically what it is the alleyways between the two properties there. And if you go to the very first page on that one, you can see that there's a marker approximately 4 feet from the telephone pole and then 20 feet down from that one. And it's probably a 60, 70 degree angle so nobody can access that alleyway right there. On the very front page, the X mark is the area that I'm requesting to be vacated. And if you go to the other end of that, you can see there's a clouded area that says easement to alley. So basically what I'm doing is I'm doing tit for tat. I mean, and on the very last page is a picture of what would be the easement, I guess, to show.
What are you saying? Oh, easement to alley.
Yeah, an easement to the alleyway back there, because it goes from 3rd Street to 2nd Street. And 2nd Street's vacated, so they can't really get to it, and in between 2nd Street and my property line is all of that machinery stuff that's parked there.
Right. This would be June Sims here.
Yeah, her garage sits on the alley, it sits on 2nd Street actually. And then, like I say, on the very last page, I believe it is a picture of the easement area that goes up through there. As you can see, there's a nice little curb cutout thingy, whatever you wanna call it. There's no curb there. I mean, there used to be a house there. So it's just a pretty much straight shot, straight up to it.
This one you're saying tit for tat, the one you have crossed out is what you want
Vacated.
vacated.
Right, and then that one that where would allow the easement to go through to get to that one.
Who
Back
owns
to
that one right now, that
I
easement?
do,
Okay, you're wanting to trade that for that is what you're
Mhm.
saying?
or allow it, or whatever the legal term is.
But
I
this
don't know.
easement would have to stay for auto.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's lines through here.
Up on the top, yes.
Right. So
Yeah,
that would
because
have
as
to
a matter of fact, on Friday morning, there was a gentleman that knocked on my door at 9 o'clock in the morning, and he was from Midco. And I'm having coffee and, he's tall, drink of water, and his name was Braxton. And he said, we need to fix the wires, and I get a picture of the wires up here, I think, just for me. I'm sorry, I ran out of ink, so I don't have everybody else's, but anyway,
You want it back to look or?
no, one of these has got, like I say, I think it's got the picture on it. Trying to get them all together. Nope, that one there, I guess not, I guess I don't have that picture. I'm sorry, but anyway, the wires from Midco's wire, there's a cable that goes across and then they wire it up. Well, I think I showed it to you when you came over. And it was probably 100 feet maybe where the cable had broken, or the wire had broke. So he knocked on the door and said, we need to fix it, can we, get to it, this and this, and I said, sure, and he said, can we, I said, sure, go down to and right exactly where it's all pillowed right there. He drove up through there was another bucket truck, there was 2 bucket trucks actually. And they got up to there and that one bucket truck had this big machine on there, and it's one where they hook it over and it spins the wire on it. So they were there approximately about an hour and they got it all fixed, and he was very happy that he was able to access it and get it all done, so it worked out absolutely perfect.
So if you want this vacated, and Otter Tail still has a lifetime easement through there, so then you couldn't encumber this in any way if they had to come through.
Well,
here.
actually, if you look at the very first picture,
Mhm.
you can see how it is, and if you notice on the corner over there, right there, you see the dirt?
Yeah.
What I wanted, that hillside is falling away.
Right.
On Monday, I almost went over on my zero turn because it went through. There's 2 really deep holes, and the first hole took 2.5 skiddy steer buckets to fill in the hole. That's the big hole that I showed you. There was another one. So basically what I wanna do is with that, I wanna grade the hill and kind of bring it down and then make it so I can mow it. So therefore it's gonna have to be relatively flat. And in Otter Tail, if they were coming in, they would be here. And this would be the alleyway here, so they could come around this way with this new area that I wanna do. Because I wanna put some drains across the alleyway too, because I've got 5 downspouts. Anyway, I wanna take 5 downspouts and put them into 2 drains and run across and then put it onto my property. So they would be able to go around the other side where the dirt is right there, and then they would be able to sit there and just go right up to the transformer. Because the transformer is really about the biggest thing that they would have. And if they're on the 3rd Street side, they've gotta lift the transformer up and over the whole thing, or if they were in the alley, they would have to do the same thing. But when I put this over here and this is gonna be flatter, then they can come in, sit down, and go right up to the transformer. And if they needed to get to my pole, the second telephone pole is my power, to where it goes over and goes down into my house.
Right.
So even then, with that all being flat, they would still be able to use their bucket truck and go up, and if something was to happen. The only thing I could actually see would just be maybe the transformer goes out or something, because everything else that goes down goes to Mark's house and the 3 or 4 other houses down that way, plus the street lights and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not gonna encumber them, they're just not gonna be able to get up there.
Right, the only thing I guess I would, before I could support this, Mark, the only thing I would wanna see would be a legal written document with Otter Tail that would specify the easements. And the reason being is nothing against you, but when you sell this property, it's all word of mouth. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
Here they have a written easement. They can go through here, an alley easement. But you're saying they can come in through here, and which is fine, appreciate it.
Well,
But-
actually, Otter Tail's told me they'll come across any damn well place they please, that's what I've been told, literally.
Yeah, well, but anyway, when we're talking about easements, I'm much more comfortable with them actually being written with descriptions and everything else, that you will allow this, and you even saying you would allow them to come in here, correct?
Well, they're gonna do it no matter what, it's written in this thing here that's,
Yeah.
there's an agreement or the one that you folks, got with them. By the way, this comes in, this is ordinance 138.
Yeah, it's right back here.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I'd let you read it, but it's .0025 font.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything. There's 1,547 words in this paper right here.
There's a new one coming, yeah, it's.
It's crazy.
It's a work in progress.
And the only reason I know that it's there, cause I counted each one.
Yeah, you're talking about this one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe that
I
is.
read through that one, so,
Yeah, okay.
but I guess,
And then it's sitting, remove all parts and trees, and there was somewhere in here about, that you could let them do it, but this expires on the 21st of November this year.
right, we have to renew our contract. with
Yeah, so I would, if anything else, just, put in there something, cause of all of the words in here, private property, the 2 words private property does not exist. It describes everything else in the city. But the two words private property is not there. Or, you know, trespassing across private property, so, you know, that, just a little heads up, you may wanna consider that when you go to renew this. Because this is for 20 years.
Correct, it's in different ordinances.
Yeah.
That would define those terms.
But that would be my, sorry, Jamie, I'm looking on your thing here. But that would be my concern is that, you know, we would, cause Otter Tail's a player in here and very important player, you
Mhm.
know? So I would rather have some communication with us and Otter Tail to get some clarification on this.
Well, basically, Otter Tail said, we're gonna come across anywhere we damn well please to do what we need to do, so
Yeah,
I
but
mean.
I don't want my information secondhand, I wanna visit with Otter Tail. So,
Okay, yeah, that's
and I'm not-
perfectly
I'm not
fine.
saying that you're not telling me accuracy or anything, I just wanna say that
Okay,
I wanna visit with Otter Tail before I could, you know, make a decision on this. And I'm glad you came and explained that, you know, cause I was a little fuzzy on a lot of this stuff here.
yeah, because there is no way they can come up through, you know, I mean, without coming across my property,
Right.
there is no way that they can access that.
Yeah.
They, you know, I mean, their trucks would literally flip
Yeah.
over because it's a,
So you weren't,
it's up there.
you weren't gonna fence this or anything that would encumber them from coming in anywhere, or?
I'm in discussion with the wife, so, you know, she wants a rail fence type of thing,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
If it does, then it is, and it's in trouble, because then it'll be helicopter come in type of thing, I think, I don't know. But I mean,
You were gonna say something, Dan?
yeah, I mean,
it's possible, but I doubt it, cause I don't wanna spend the money for it, to tell you the truth.
your reason for vacating is you have no desire to build on it, but
No.
it's more of a landscaping issue.
I want a landscape and I wanna put some drains across, and I don't want there, you know, cause you guys are here now, like what you said. You know, you guys are here now, and in 5 years, you know, whatever your terms are, somebody else comes across and goes, well, why did you do that then? Well, you know, so if it's vacated, you know, and then they sit there and do it, then I can feel better about it. You know, the old thing about, you know, we'll do it and we'll get you know, it's easier to get forgiveness than it is permission. I don't do that, I flip it the other way.
Is there?
So that's why I'm here.
I'm just talking out loud, I mean, brainstorming, is there any way that, you know, as a city, we could work with him, he could do stuff within reason, and then just still keep it as an alleyway? Or,
What's the point?
you know, to where, instead of vacating it, keep it an alleyway, but have some.
It'll still be an alleyway, I mean, they're still
Yeah.
gonna be able to get to it. The only thing that I'm gonna do is just
Well,
make it
actually,
to
it
where
won't.
I can mow it,
It
and then
won't,
it'll be easier for them to get
but it
to it.
won't be an alleyway, it'll be your property, so it's no longer an alleyway.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess there's that technical terms things again, okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
No, I think it's a good point, Jamie. I guess I need some more, I'm sorry, Mark, I need to do some more research on this. And if you don't mind, I'd like to come down and take a look at it.
Absolutely,
You
yeah,
know.
you know, I mean,
And then also visit,
Sure.
with Otter Tail and, to get their take on what you're proposing here. I'm sure it's something that's similar to maybe they're doing with other people, but like I said, I've run into it before where there was an agreement.
when
with-
I,
with one per-
when
and
I
then it
talked
was-
to him, he just said, you know, cause I even said, you know, if you're gonna, you know, is it possible to upgrade, you know, we could do something work out in that, and the guy just literally told me, he's like, you know, we're in a business of this, we ain't in business of making you guys happy. And I said, oh, and he said, well, if you wanna put it all underground, and he gave me a figure of 18 to 23,000, put it all in the ground, but I gotta pay for everything. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do that for you, I'm sorry, I mean,
Yeah,
I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid.
well, I think it's hard to give up alleyways for those easements of, yeah, Midco, WRT, Otter Tail, they have a place to get to people's properties, and then, you know, not everybody owns everything forever, you know?
Mhm.
And then the next guy is a different situation, so I'm just talking this out loud, that, can we work, I don't know, compromise to where, I mean, you own both sides of this, right? I mean, you kinda own this whole.
This is
Yes.
Park Board over here.
That's Park
this
Board
is-
over there.
This is Park.
And
Board.
also the last one in number 5, this one down here, that telephone pole's on park property.
Okay,
It's 5 feet outside.
so which, you own 1, 2, 3?
Mhm.
And then 10, 11, 12? The whole thing
I own
down?
from this line right here to this line to this line, and then down to here, down to Missouri Avenue, which is
Okay.
another thing that's gonna be happening later.
Yeah, I don't know, it's my opinion, but I mean, I think it'd be hard to give up those easements for those people to do what they need to.
Unless there was a solid alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause, you know, what if you sold those lots off separately later, or, you know,
Or even sold everything and it was just a gentleman's agreement. They don't transfer very well. So I guess I would like something more in stone, so.
Now, like I say, I gave this to the city attorney, and he's like, there you go, I don't see a problem with it, cause he said that hasn't been maintained in that one. And it's true, because in this area right here, there's a bunch of trees and there's I think, cause I haven't been really down it, cause I don't wanna mess with it down there, it looks like a rim with the tires growing through it and a bunch of concrete. And
that's where,
there's a telephone pole about this big.
in the alleyway there? Is that where you're saying?
Yeah, that would be probably right, well. And that set of trees right there.
Those trees are-
Yeah, cause this second one here,
They normally sit within a few inches of the property line, so you go down 20 feet, and that would be the alley. Cause there's
Yeah.
only one 30-foot alley in town, that's yours.
Okay,
yeah, there's up here on the top, oh, right here. See that, the markers in the bottom, so what I did was I dug down and I
Right.
marked them in, so.
you're saying
This and this
that's
and
your
there.
property line
That's
there?
property line right here, and then the other one is right there. And then this is, I brought in 5 loads of dirt to fill this in, cause this is from here down to here, is about 14 feet, cause there's a really deep depression in there. So I've already brought in 5 loads of dirt to already start to do this, because right here, when they come over here, this is what collapsed, this hillside's going down. So, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, you know, if they do this and this, I will, you know, I've talked to some really great people in town. As far as machinery wise, things to do, you know, material, you know, things to do, I mean, it's, small town USA is great. So, you know, like I say, I'm not saying, help me out here, I'm not asking for any money, I'm not doing anything, just give me that one there and let me fix it to do that one, so I can mow it, and I don't have to worry about, you know, cause like I say, on Monday, my 0 turn damn near went over the edge.
Yeah, I guess just for me personally, I would be not really for just fully vacating it, but like a variance or something possibly through planning and zoning. I don't know if that would extend that far as underneath the road and all that fun stuff, but with some
That's
sort
how
of thing
this
like,
originally came up, but
kind of like what
Pardon me?
Jamie's talking about, where it's like,
Yeah.
this gentleman's here, he can do these pre-described things, they're done, great. All the Lauderdale, everyone is able to do their stuff still, you know what I mean? Cause your primary goal is to get the landscaping, get your stuff all set up,
Yeah,
right? So then it would just, in my mind, just getting that approved by planning and zoning then here, and I don't see why that wouldn't work, you know, just get it done. Then we don't have to give up full ownership of it, because obviously what has been brought up previously, new owners, split lots, all the fun stuff that happens. But then you could still get what you want, but then also we would still have what we need.
Yeah, I
If that
think,
makes sense.
yeah. And also though, I think it's important to connect with Otter Tail. And I can do that if it's okay with you guys to see what they would need for future guarantees should Mark sell the place of, instead of, well, Mark said we could drive in here and the new owner says, no, we can't, so that they actually have this extra alleyway, you know, in writing as an easement and the access that he guaranteed them here. I think that's important, you know, for Otter Tail as our partner to, you know, so that they can go to the bank with it in case it would need to be done, so I think that needs to be brought into consideration too.
Yeah, I mean, and is it anything, I don't know, I mean, talking out loud, people would shut me down, but I mean, is it something that you could make it your own and then, but no parking trailers or anything there to leave access? I mean, say it goes to grass, but these guys still have access to do their things, but it's kind of,
I'm not gonna do anything with it, I've already done everything.
yeah.
I mean, and actually the lot below there is unbuildable. It's an unbuildable lot, so nobody can build it unless they build you know, it's 20 or 30 feet up, because the bottom, I don't have a picture of it, but this area down here where where a house would be is 11, it's either 9 or 11 feet below what the sewer line is on First Avenue.
They would have to do like a lift
You have
station.
to do a lift station, you
And
can
it-
still build there, so.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, that's a whole lot of stuff, but I mean,
Right.
you know, just to be able to do, but, and then down at the park, that's on, you know, the comfort stations down there, I guess, are on the sewer, so, are on the
Septic system.
septic system, so can't tap into that. So I mean, I'm just trying to do it because I'd like to, I'd like to be able to do it, like to make it look nice. I mean, I'm doing this on my own. Like I say, that's 5 loads right there, and I figure it's gonna take another 15. Of course, I'm probably 5 or 10 short, but hey, I'm willing to do it because it's my property. I look at it every day. Nobody else does. And I just, I wanna be able to mow it, and, cause it's, right now, everything is this high that's, right at the very top. And it's, I got other things I'd like to be able to do, plus I can't mow this portion right here at all. And this is probably 2 feet, 2.5 feet deep right there.
Yeah, the city doesn't maintain the alleyway, do they?
No, and according to Mr. Lindell, they haven't done it for obviously 25 years
Or more.
or more, so yeah.
I guess what my suggestion would be, with Jamie being streets and me being the chair of planning and zoning, how about if the two of us look into this, just to come up with a plan to help Mark out here, but yet have Otter Tail have the guarantee of us, of accessibility that they need, and to try and take care of all parties involved here. So either with a variance, to turn the alley over, whatever it might be, but I just think this isn't a clear cut case enough here to where I could make a decision on it tonight, but I'm willing, if it's okay with Jamie,
Yeah,
I'm willing to work with Jamie to come up with something to help you out, Mark.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
I agree, I'm not saying no, I would like to go look at it too a little closer and see if we could just, cause I don't think you could build on anything on it, and it doesn't sound like you intend to, you just wanna do some landscape improvements. And maybe.
Yeah, I wanna get rid of all these trees, I wanna do all that stuff, cause like I say, there's concrete in there, and there's an old wheel, and, there's a telephone pole that's been cut off this side, that's obviously been replaced with that one, so.
Yeah,
so I guess,
I'd like to look at it, yeah, I mean, and just see if there's something we could,
so if it's all right with the rest of the commission, Jamie and I could take a look at it and come back with recommendations.
I think it's a great idea.
So is that a consensus, everyone? All right, thank you, Mark.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank
Jamie
you.
and I'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's take a 2-minute break, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Do you wanna close the public
You
hearing?
gotta close the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the public hearing is now closed? All right, thank you. Right.
The resolution also does grant Otter Tail access. Just for finding them. We're still by the
What?
Oh, yeah,
We're still
yeah,
by the
probably 15 days.
Yeah.
I've got other people that's, they kind of have the same thing.
Just need more clarification. I'm a slow thinker, You look tired.
I am.
Thank you very much.
That's why you look tired.
I have a headache. And I'm just rolling this meeting into one, so.
Yes, I am. Nice to meet you. Yeah. It's very good.
Oh, stretch my legs. I'll try to take a sip
how are you, Abby?
Really good. How are you?
So far, so good. Change the folder system here.
I'm trying to make it easier.
No, it probably is, I just gotta get used to it.
Yeah, and I wanted to keep, since we had 3 meetings, I wanted to keep them all separate. So that this one was here, and then you weren't scrolling to try to find elements, so.
That was a good idea.
I'm trying. And that's what is online too, for everybody to see, so.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's just getting used to it.
Almost a year now.
I think it would be better, cause it's, compartmentalizing a little bit and, okay, this is this, yeah.
And the organization, I can't have it, yeah, just, it makes it easier to be, like I said, that you close out of one, you go to the next one, and you're not trying to flip through all there, and it's numbered, and so.
So we're at that fun stage.
Is there any more agendas?
Acknowledge,
People
quit
agendas?
walking, do the running walk, so let fall.
Is there no more sitting up there?
No.
I can go print one.
Everything. Things are yeah. Love the giggles.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah, isn't it funny how, I mean, I don't know that anybody gets really excited about these types of things, but I do miss the stage before the big crawl. It was exciting to start the big crawl, but now please, stay there. Stay, yeah. Easily entertained at that point, so. Yeah, we have our first, family vacation scheduled for end of June. Kind of mentally preparing myself, like, how do I entertain a kid for 5.5
This here, the
hours?
first
We're going
time.
to Black House.
Yeah, the ball field's here.
We've got a cabin,
Ball field.
you know, that way.
Nice turn.
This
is
Well,
Thursday.
it's
Mark
good
lives
space
right
for
here.
nap time, cause the one time we went out of town, we went to Fargo overnight, and, oh my gosh, I hated
So
it.
I basically, I
It
came
was like
from
we went back to
Hawaii.
newborn station, cried every hour or two, and of course, in the hotel, you got neighbors, so you're like, oh.
I could live literally.
So when you're on the bottle, we would stop and make sure, I mean, I would go off the bottle and, oh my God. They would suck on that thing for hours.
Oh, I'm
That's
sure.
in the car.
I
always say I'm an 80s mom, born in the wrong era.
Yeah,
did
yeah,
you
Marcy
go
Trevor, right, yeah, especially in that area.
Oh, Chelsea,
So, yeah, we got cabins, so we don't have.
I've got things going on tomorrow, so Keith's gonna stop in and sign check.
Yeah.
Remember that kid?
Happy ice cream, alright.
Ice cream?
Thank you, Chelsea.
You're welcome.
You
You can.
Yep, we're gonna have, we got a little tablet folder for the movies.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, somebody wanna make a motion to approve the agenda?
Moves. Second.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, Keith,
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Approve the May 12th, 2025 meeting minutes.
So move.
Second?
Any more discussion? Not hearing any? Keith?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, approve May financials. Everyone had a chance to go through everything?
Also move.
All right.
Second. Oh, Jamie can have it. We gotta take turns.
Give it to Jamie. All right, any more discussion? Discussion, if not, Keith?
Yes.
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 And yes. All right, the bills, everyone had a chance to review the bills?
Motion to approve the bills. Second.
Okay, any more discussion? More discussion? Not, Keith?
Yes.
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 And yes. All right, maintaining landscaping property. Alice? Is it Dusky?
Dusac.
Dusac, oh, sorry. Come on up.
New to the area. This is built that house on Sixth Street, Sixth Avenue. You're probably familiar with it. So I'm not sure how this all works, but when we originally bought the lots, there was a lot 8 included. And when, was it Lindahl, he did the title opinion, he told us, you don't have lot 8. and it's not on, like that map we gave you, it's not on there. We had the lot surveyed, and it's not on there. I don't know why, but so I'm not sure why or what. Lot 8 is it city property?
It
or-
doesn't
that's
exist, it doesn't exist, lot 8, it's city right away and street and boulevard, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that might answer all of this, so that's what we're concerned about, that property, is next, right, adjoining to us,
Right.
and it's an eyesore.
Yeah,
So, and if you've gone by there, we've done we're
Correct.
doing some yard work, we're gonna get it all seeded, and that's what we're coming to question, is there, anything that the city, do they compensate, there's a culvert in there, it's very steep, it's
Yeah.
really hard to mow.
This one, this
This
culvert
one.
is
Yeah,
plugged.
It's plugged?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, not anymore, it
Well, it's
was,
dug out, but the inside it's all full of dirt.
Yeah.
the guys can come
Yeah.
and look at that,
The
you
guys
just
have-
give us a call,
Yeah.
they'll fix that.
yeah,
as far as the boulevard goes, the city ordinance, well, I knew them, but I looked them up, but
yeah.
the boulevards are the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain, to seed, to take care of and everything else.
So all of that property west of our lot, right, that'd be west,
Yeah, as west as you
Is-
can get in this town.
Yeah.
is,
Is
it's,
boulevard.
we don't own it, but it's
Right.
ours to maintain.
Because
Okay.
like, there's
That's what I didn't
there's
know.
an alley through to right
Yep.
here,
Yep,
and then there's no alley here. And this alley actually comes into Bowers driveway as it comes out, and then,
Yeah.
and then your street kind of winds
Yeah.
around, like that.
Yeah.
So your boulevard, this here would be all boulevard here, except for the alley is right there, that would be alley. So the responsibility according to ordinance is, it shall be the duty of the owner of any property along which a sidewalk has been constructed to maintain in good and safe condition. And then also in here, it speaks about, any seeding or yard work or anything, the owner must fill, finish, and maintain, landscape the boulevard, between the property line and the curb.
so we can do what with it, what we want?
Well, I would caution yourself a little bit there because, when this is street here, so when the city comes by and they blade, there's gonna be a lot of stuff in there, like.
Well, what we
if
wanna
they-
do is,
If they gravel the street, or not gravel, but if they sand the street, stuff like that, that
Yeah.
all gets rolled up there, so.
well, and grass doesn't grow there, it's
No,
weeds,
yeah.
but we would wanna dig it out,
Dig
put
it out,
rock
put
in
rock
there.
in it.
It should be cemented is what it should be, but that's,
Yeah.
more than what we wanna.
One thing to kind of check would be the planning and zoning ordinance as well, just depending on how it's zoned, there's different things with setbacks for like bushes or trees or whatever it
Oh.
may be. So that would be some of the
Yeah.
limitations.
Yeah,
I don't remember anything about like gravel all the way up or anything, like do you have to
I
have
don't think
grass?
there was anything, is there, Chelsea?
I didn't see anything on
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't
Yeah.
find anything either. So yeah, if you wanna do, is there a slope that goes down towards?
yes,
Yeah, through
part
it.
of it is pretty
Yeah,
sloped too.
then make sure
Yeah.
you use crushed rock and not round rock, or it'll just roll right
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, and the guy that we have, he would, and even like that culvert area, I mean, are there limits there too? You have to do something because it's so hard, you can't mow,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, I know up
it's,
in,
If you'll, I'm sorry, Tim, are you still talking?
I was just gonna say, there are some culverts in town like this that are in private property, and some of them, they'll just swell them and they'll not make them so steep and seed them. There are some that have actually rocked them, with like a rip wrap type thing. So there's been all kinds of different things that people have used, to maintain them, because the culvert does extend actually into your property up there, if the GIS was correct. I mean, the city guys can clean it out, and that type of thing, and make sure, because we don't want that to plug. So that's the responsibility of the city, but anything that ends up over in your property, because it's the main drain for not only your backyard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but yeah.
coming all the way from that football field there, it comes, through there. So I guess, I went up there the other day, I should have knocked on your door, I apologize,
Oh.
but, it was pretty steep.
oh, we've had it now.
Yeah, and,
Graded
it could
for-
maybe be swelled a little bit more, so it isn't so steep, so you can mow it. The biggest thing is to get it rooted down before the first big rain comes and washes out all your work.
Yeah, yeah.
Type of thing. I don't know how fast the water comes through there. But yeah, you could do a rock thing or something in here too, so that would be easier to maintain also.
Yeah,
I think that's what
the
they
guy
plan on
that,
doing,
yeah, he's got, you know, I mean, I think we showed you that, so, and that's why we didn't know. I mean, if it's something they could compensate for, but I mean, it's our obligation,
Yeah, sorry,
not something that we can, yeah,
I got a lot of work to do on my yard in my boulevard too, so yeah, it's,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You had also mentioned in your letter, something about the water, the 50
Yeah,
foot
yeah.
water tower. You know, where, when your landscaper had gone and piled over, you said something about seeing.
Well, when we did the construction,
Right.
there's places now that are open, you know, it's
Yeah.
dirt from and that's, yeah, part of the city, the water tower, that lot.
Well, I drew on here, that's gonna get disturbed again this summer,
Oh.
because
It's good to know.
they'll be coming across here and back here with a new vault for the PRV valves to put in here. The old tower's gonna come out of commission, it's gonna
Yeah,
stay there, but
yeah.
it's gonna come out of commission. So that vault will be back in here, it's probably a little bit too much of an angle. So Chris Trespic will be, cause there's a fence here, he'll be laying all that dirt over here. You know, it won't get on your property, so this is gonna be dug up and it's
So-
gonna be refilled.
Probably just hold off before we do
Just hold
anything
off,
with that, yeah.
And then,
They aren't gonna get out here till August now. so.
and then there's a PRV in here that is either gonna be worked on or replaced. If that's being replaced, there might be some dirt chucked over here again from this side of the tower. So either way, it's the city's responsibility when we dig this here to do that, and I guess. But I'd hate to see you do us a favor seated and then we throw a dirt, and then we gotta throw a dirt pile on top
Yeah,
of it. So
well, we just thought we tore it up, yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but it might all be for naught.
Yeah, that's good to know, 'cause,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
we wanna,
And that should be, well, if everything's ordered, probably August when he does it, depending when
that's,
stuff gets
they're
here.
supposed to be coming out to do that,
Yeah, so we
yard
can,
work,
we
yeah.
can see what happens.
so, okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead, Mayor.
Yep, so when I was on the commission prior,
Right,
maybe 15 years ago or
Yeah.
better. Anyways, the property owners that owned your property had that issue with the culvert. And they came to the commission and they wanted to attach onto that culvert into their property
oh, make it
to
longer.
level it out.
Yeah,
But the commission requested that they use the same material to attach, so you're looking at concrete
Yeah,
culvert. And then, you would have to then give us an easement so we could access the end of that pipe. But that's, I'm just putting that out there, that could be an option for you, but I don't know what you wanna do.
yeah, yeah.
But I just wanna share that with you, so.
But you can have the guys go up and look at the culvert and
Oh,
city
yeah.
guys will come up and get the culvert cleaned out for you, so.
Yeah, I'll have 'em do that. They're tarring all day tomorrow, so it might not be till Wednesday or Thursday, but.
that,
I
they'll
don't
be
know,
fine,
but
yeah.
it's, yeah.
Okay,
I
I'll
know
look at it.
was it the first winter we were here in that spring?
Yeah.
It was scary, that, it got so filled with water
Yeah.
up, and what worried me is these kids that walking by, they'd have fell in
Yes.
there, it's, yeah, and then just like that, it flushed through, it was like, if they'd have been in there.
So it's probably froze. that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, but,
Like I say,
but
full of
the,
dirt in there, I suppose, then it's finally soaked through.
but the water, yeah, it was water on top, so. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to number 8, planning and zoning recommendation.
Okay, planning and zoning met, a few weeks ago, well, 3 weeks ago. And I spent quite a bit of time up at the courthouse trying to figure out what had actually happened. Didn't really come up with anything, but if you looked at the history of the Butler property down there were times when it was not listed as anything, and then it was commercial, then it wasn't listed as anything, and then all of a sudden it went to residential. So in visiting with Todd and Ryan, they said, nobody knows what the mistake was. Simply just notify the county by a vote of the commission that there's been an error here and the error needs to be corrected. So the planning and zoning's recommendation to the city commission is that whatever the error was, that the error be corrected and that Dan Butler's property be classified back to commercial instead of residential. And I will make that as a motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? Let him.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, never mind, I'm good, so I'm good,
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
And yes. All right. Okay, Captain's Cabin Gaming Site Authorization, Bureau Convention and Visitor Bureau. Come on up. State your name.
Scott Bills, owner of Captain's Cabin.
Eric Ogden, managing.
So what we're here is looking to put in a nonprofit from Beulah, Beulah Convention and Visitor Center Bureau. We've been told that there might be some issue. We have nothing against the Legion. Love the Legion, they do a lot of work, absolutely no question. We also love military, law enforcement, and EMS. So we try to do things for all of them. What we're looking at doing is just changing the vendor, so the gaming part of the Legion. And that's why we're going with another vendor. We think that the other vendor is gonna help us as a business with new machines. Current machines we have called multiple times with issues of breaking down and freezing up. The response is kick them. Well, we kick them, we break them, kind of our problem.
kicked him too hard, right?
Kick them too hard. One of my employees kicks them, breaks a toe. Who's paying for the workers' comp?
Definitely kicked it too hard.
You bet.
Yeah.
I wear steel toe boots. I won't break my toe. But employees wear tennis shoes or some other soft-toed shoe. Well, I can't have them breaking a toe and then something happens. It's the Legion and say, well, that's on us. And I don't want to put them in that situation either. So not only the safety part about it, but we have customers that complain. When the machines freeze up, they hear it, or because the employees hear it, and then we have to kick it, the safety issue. If it doesn't come back on, does that customer leave and say, hey, it's the Legion machines? No. They say, those machines at the cabin are terrible. So it then becomes our problem for not doing something about it. If I leave them go, well, then all those things can happen. So what I've taken upon myself, and Eric and I have talked about it, is getting another entity in there. Plain and simple. It's basically like saying we don't want to have Pepsi in there, so we're going to go with Coke. Jamie and you have owned a business. It's like saying you having a tool, knowing it doesn't perform well, and then someone leaves your shop. Something happens on a business site. Well, they're not going to say it's that tool's problem. It's going to be the person using it. So, the information that people say, well, is that money going to stay in the community? The answer is yes. If whoever does the research, it's all public record. It's all the same for any nonprofit organization. X number of dollars can go to funding, and the other is for in-house paying employees or paying whatever their bills are. And so it's no different from the Hazen to the American Legion to someone out of Bismarck, out of Minot. Each one is on public record, so you can go and see who the Legion donates to. You can see who Hazen donates to. And each entity has to have paperwork. So the Legion can go into this public pool and say, hey, do you need money? They said yes, they have to do the paperwork. If Joe Blow comes in from an organization that needs money, they have to do paperwork, whether they're requesting it or whether someone is going out and actively seeking to give that money to the pool, the school, whatever. They still have to do the paperwork. They still have to have a request form. So the money would stay in the community.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how long has the gaming machines been an issue?
over a year.
It's a regular thing. It's not like
Yeah.
it just happened one time. You know, we didn't fly off the handle and get angry because it happened once. It's a continuous thing where at some point, like Scott said, you gotta assess and we have a business with it too. You know? And with the funding, it's all the exact same percentages. For the Legion, for Beulah, everyone's 60% goes to them, 40% goes to the community. Well, in this case, actually, the community would have more access to it because the Legion, I don't think the Legion really asked people, they just kind of dealt the money out here. Well, for here, all you gotta do is ask. We can do it for the roads, for the roads for the visitor bureau. You can do it for whatever, it just needs to be asked for.
I think with the Legion, it's exactly the same. You put in a request.
Yep, and then, yeah, it's the same thing with this,
Right.
exact same numbers.
Right, yeah, the same
And everything,
things.
of course, is public information.
So how many machines are we talking about that you currently have?
We currently have 10, and we don't make any more if we have 10 machines or 100 machines.
And how many machines are an issue?
4?
3 or 4
Sure, all
on a
the
regular basis.
Is it the same machines?
Same machines.
And they've never been changed out? Over a year period?
At least a year. Yep.
And that's what this contract is too, it's a year-long contract.
And the Legion is aware of these issues and
The
Hey.
gaming,
haven't done anything?
the gaming individuals that we deal with are aware of it.
I think the issue with the machines is an issue between, of course, you and the Legion. You know, it's not a commission issue. You know, and I realize that if you're kind of strapped because it's up to this commission and who decides who you can game with and who you can't, you know, I would be hard pressed to take it away from the Legion, just number one, because they're local. Number two, because they've done a tremendous amount, you know, for this community. They're proven. The gal that was here and the guy last week said that they are currently under investigation. We've never heard, you know, she gave us what they were under investigation for, but it's still a pending investigation. So it makes it a little difficult with the pending investigation, you know, for me anyway, to move that gaming, especially when we've had a Legion that's been so faithful to the school, the city, everything in the community. I mean, they're very proven in what they do for the community with the gaming. So I wish that you didn't have issues. I don't know whether it's our part to go to the Legion and say, hey, you better get this taken care of, you know, or we're gonna pull your gaming. It's really not our part. It's kind of between you and them. But like I said, I understand it puts you in a hard spot because you don't have any other choice. And maybe through this meeting, they could look into this better to get these machines updated, you know, or whatever. I'm kind of just rambling right now, my thoughts, but yeah, I've had, you know, a few calls, you know, from people that are very concerned about gaming going out of town. You know, I haven't had anyone that's called and said that it supported this, but that's not what my decision's made on. I just know that the Legion's been just very faithful to this community, and I just feel that I'd be kind of sliding a part of the rug out from underneath them, you know, by going a different direction. So
Now, is that, it's kind of it's a private business, and yes, we have to come to you guys to get liquor license approved, and now it's gaming approved.
Yeah.
So basically what we're being told is, we're not allowed to have anything else besides the Legion.
it's not what you're being told. I'm just expressing what my opinion was here. I don't know what the other 4 members think, but I'm just saying I would be hard pressed, you know, to give it to someone that I have absolutely no knowledge of in Beulah and admits that they're under investigation. That's a public record. I mean, that's a little iffy for me, and unless if this thing with them was all settled and everything in Beulah, and the Attorney General or whoever's doing it, I don't even have any idea what it's about out of what they told us. But when someone's under investigation, you just, for me, I kind of back off and say, well, you better get this settled first, you know, and then, you know, let's proceed forward. Just my opinion. I'll leave it to the rest of the commissioners to comment. So
then we can, if we bring in some Vegas, you guys would vote no on that, and I could see why. Hazen's 30 miles away. Is the Washburn American Legion in anywhere else besides Washburn? So are they staying local? Or did they branch out? Can the Washburn American Legion go to Fargo? Go to Minot? The answer is yes. So, yeah, you know, like I've said at the very beginning, Legion's done a lot, you bet. But someone had to trust them first. So if we're looking at this other entity, we have to trust them, and if they turn out to be a bust, well then, you leave them and can get somebody else in.
Okay.
So nothing locks us in except for the contract for the duration that it has to be. I don't know if that's quarterly or
20 year.
It's a year contract.
a year.
Can I ask, they have to give 40% and can keep 60%, but can you give more? Like, does the Legion give us more than 40%? I can't.
Judy might have an answer there.
I came as a citizen,
State your name.
oh, I'm sorry, Judy Beaudry, resident of Washburn, member of the Washburn Park Board. And I'm here to support the Legion. Our community has been the Legion to this community is a gift, a gift. There is nobody that is down on their luck that you have a fundraiser and guess who fills that basket? There, as a member of the park board, we were having, as everybody does, trouble getting lifeguards. And the Legion came to us and,
Yeah, just keep it short, so we're talking about gaming and not.
okay,
Okay.
well, to make it short, they say that every kid in this community is cared for. And I'm sorry, but Beulah isn't gonna do that. It just isn't gonna happen. So, you know, you're gonna have to figure out how to work with them, because I'm gonna tell you, as a citizen, to me, that's it.
Well, thank you, Judy, appreciate it. But we gotta realize that that 40% is decided by the organization to fill the community's needs. So that 40%, certain 10% could go to the park board, certain part could go to churches, whatever.
Not
Right.
churches.
Well, I'm just throwing.
Any nonprofit. then.
Yeah, any nonprofit.
You have to be a 501c3 to get any
Right.
funding from the Beulah Convention
Yeah.
Center, from my understanding from the last meeting. So that puts out the museum, puts out the park board, because the museum's a county entity,
Mhm.
park board's a city entity, so they'd knock us both out. But the Legion, they don't care, you know, because I'm here as representing right now as a museum.
Okay.
But yeah, the Legion's helped the museum a lot, and you go to them, you ask. My question is, okay, Beulah Convention Center, how do we apply for this money? Do I come up to the cabin? Do I say, you know, do you have a form for me to ask for money?
And that would be talking to Mark.
Yeah, you call directly to the CVB.
We're not
Yeah.
going to call.
Well, then that would be up to you.
Right, that's whoever's prerogative, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's how all funding, no matter if it's from the Legion or from wherever, there has to be paperwork filled out and requested, it's not just.
Yeah, and it's all tracked.
Right. and
Like
that's
according to
all-
the section code, I'm not sure how the Legion could do that with specifically the gaming funds, if it's the same century code that would delineate both of them.
Correct.
So maybe they give the money out of other things, I don't know, we'd have to look at the records to see all that,
Correct.
but it would be the same source that they both draw from.
Yeah, and the same process to get the funding that it would be with the Legion. Just a-
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a different company, that's all.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And my thing, you probably said the last meeting, I don't know if you watched it or not, I have not said the word Legion once. This is the first time I'm gonna say Legion, right? Legion, right? I was talking about local. So just my understanding of this, obviously gambling in like the 80s or whatever it came into, then you'd have a charitable contribution to counteract the negative view it'd have in society through addiction, other stuff that can happen along with gambling. So then there's a benefit with this charitable giving. I guess there's my problem is just issuing the heart of the organization that is in charge of the funding away from the community that the funding goes to. It kind of removes that, kind of like the federal government would not care about you as your local would, right? Like there's that disconnect there. So I would just personally not want to have any harms or negatives from that and then outsource the benefits. It's just my only thinking, I know it's the same, I know it's the same process, I understand all that, I'm just saying, but the heart is not the same. The for the community part is not the
Yeah.
same. So that's just my one caution with it, and my other caution is obviously the Attorney General's investigation. So probably, it's not exactly the best start, you know what I mean, like, at least letting that resolve or something, like, maybe it is just a fluke or whatever, but what they told me is not what I've seen, right, like, through the news reports and that sort of stuff, so, I don't know, just for me, it's kind of a tough spot, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's, I've talked to you a couple times, and then, yeah, I mean, I think it's tough for everybody, cause I mean, it's like, you owning a business should have the right to make your business better and do that. But I think like everybody's saying here too, I mean, the Legion actively takes care of the area, so it's hard to see that defunded. So I mean, this is a really hard spot, you know, so.
This wasn't something that we decided overnight either.
Yeah,
Obviously,
you,
this has been an ongoing, and so that's why we made the decision that we did.
mhm.
And it's not like my dad wasn't in the Legion, my grandpa, so don't think for 1 minute that, you know, we don't like the Legion.
Right.
This is a straight up business decision, Rick.
And the cabin has sponsored the Washburn ambulance for many, many years, and you've continued on that as being the new owners, so.
That's all I see.
Yep, that's what we got.
I'll make a motion that, we allow the cabin gaming site to choose the Beulah Convention and Visitor Bureau. We'll see if it gets second. Is there a second? Not hearing any? Is there a second? Motion dies. Sorry.
That'll work.
Thank you for coming in.
You bet.
All right, we're gonna move on. Resolution setting auditor's bond.
Okay, I would move that we would approve the setting of the auditor's bond limit.
Okay.
Is this similar to last year, Chelsea?
Yep, it's the same thing, we just have to renew it every June.
Okay.
I can make it go if you want me to.
All right. Is there a second? I'll second that.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Keith?
Yes.
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 And yes. Chelsea, do you have that ready to sign and I can sign it? Thank you. Does it matter if it's green pen?
No, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it just gets filed, it's okay.
All right. Next up, apology letter to McLean County Sheriff.
Okay, I included just a little note, at our last meeting, we did a 5-0 vote just to issue an apology to them for our last meeting. I figured I would then bring it here to get that approved before it be sent to them, so it's just not by yourself or whatever, so I'll just read it real quick. Dear Sheriff Kurzman and McLean County Sheriff's Department, on behalf of the Washburn City Commission, we sincerely apologize for inappropriate comments made during our May 12, 2025 commission meeting. The unfounded accusations directed at your department by Commission President Mark Lelm were unacceptable and do not reflect the views of or values of this commission. We deeply regret any distress or misunderstanding caused by these remarks. We also acknowledge that President Lelm did not follow established protocol by failing to coordinate through our designated police portfolio holder. To clarify, the police portfolio holder is the commission's primary point of contact with your department. Any commissioner engaging with your office without documented authority or meeting minutes does not represent the commission's position. We are committed to ensuring this protocol is followed moving forward. We extend our gratitude to Lieutenant Meadows for addressing possible discrepancies regarding your department's 2024 service hours. No further confusion remains on this topic. The McLean County Sheriff's Department dedication to serving and protecting Washburn is deeply valued, and we're grateful for your continued partnership. Please accept our heartfelt apology. We are committed to maintaining a respectful and collaborative relationship with your department and welcome any further discussion to ensure mutual understanding. Sincerely, the Washburn City Commission.
Okay. I will make a motion to second your request, so we can move on to discussion.
Did you make
Motion to approve it.
Nobody made a motion.
Oh, I'll make a motion to,
And I second that.
okay, we're gonna move on to discussion. Anyone have any concerns?
Nope, very well written.
Okay, yeah, except I've got a couple things. Some of your verbiage in here, unfounded accusations, what did you find that was unfounded?
Well, because there's accusations made that did not have any evidence presented with those accusations, and those were done publicly. So because no evidence has still been submitted, then we should apologize for that publicly.
Please hold your voice in the meeting. So anyway, do you know what the surrounding issues were around this?
I guess it's kind of irrelevant, because if you're gonna publicly accuse anyone, you should front load it with evidence. Kind of like when I accused the state of astroturfing our meeting, I had 80 pages of documentation with 3 different timelines, a chronological, and multiple other things that would literally nail it down instead of this random finger pointing. It's just kind of what I'm.
Okay, there was no random, I didn't name anyone. And it was, well, let's start at the front, okay? There was, an accused rape in Washburn on, public property, on city property. That is my portfolio, correct?
Well, I guess I'd cross lines because there's a
Well-
criminal act, so that'd be police.
Yeah, that's
And
really
then
not your
also-
portfolio.
And then,
If it was on
just
grounds.
wait,
No, you asked a question.
no, I'm talking to Mr. Habit, but I'll get to you, please. So anyways, as soon as I heard of this, I contacted Miranda about this alleged rape. Is that correct?
You contacted me saying we had to talk about.
Well, that there was a male on male rape.
I don't recall.
Are you sure this is commission business, Mark?
Well, I'm
going down
just-
You're going
okay.
down a very slippery slope.
I know,
Can we,
let me try to,
No, you're going down a very slippery slope.
Okay.
I would caution you to be very.
I will, okay,
can we structure this maybe a little differently?
Yeah.
sure,
I'll try, but, so I mean, we're sending an apology because people may have felt that some of that wasn't appropriate. However, I think, with what Mark's saying, maybe we need to look at what the proper protocols would be to go and take care of some of these. If you still, I mean, so we have this apology letter for something, and then we have maybe some still unresolved issues to take care of. What would our proper channels be to take care of that? I guess, where do we go from here? Healthy, you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying, like, if there is an issue, let's have it nailed down. Let's have, here's the emails, here's the documentation, here's what happened, here's, you know what I mean? Rather than front-loading the accusations, front-load the evidence, and then draw from that evidence the accusations. Does that
Oh.
make sense?
okay. I didn't know I was gonna talk about this. You know, the subject was that I brought something to the police station because I didn't want Miranda targeted. And then I said, because I was targeted, that's what started this. when I went to the police station, I was called to the police station. I didn't go on there on my own. I was called while I was having breakfast with a friend of mine that they had some questions for me. I said, yeah, I'll be done with breakfast at around 11 o'clock and I'll come up there and find out what they want to talk to me about. I had no inkling of what was going on. When I went in there, then I was escorted into an interrogation room and I was verbally abused for a half an hour, accusing me of all sorts of crimes that I have no part. I've been law enforcement, I love law enforcement. I love EMS. I've given myself to the Washburn community for 40 years. I've been working with law enforcement for 30 years as I've been on that Washburn ambulance squad. I praise them all the time. Do I agree how a detective treated me? No. Did I file a complaint? Yeah. I shared that complaint with Jamie. He read it. It's real. They won't release the audio, video, because it's under investigation. How long that rape happened, alleged rape, happened almost a year ago. Have they ever, all I did was to say for public safety, this was months before they called me in, if they had any update for the city of Washburn, because I'm the mayor. I didn't ask for information. The only information I asked for is for public safety. Do we have a?
You ask for an update, that's the same as information, isn't it?
As the mayor, I mean, you go around and ask for information that deals with your portfolio.
Well, you
That's
said
all
it's-
I was,
That's not your portfolio though, Mark. That's what we're saying. It's
public safety?
Public safety does not exist as a portfolio.
Well, it's part of my job description,
Where?
isn't it?
Where's
Where
that
does
at?
it say that? You know what I mean? You're
If-
just saying that. Where does it say
I know
that?
you're trying to, I'm sorry.
Where does that come, where do you get that from? Where do you get that idea that that is your responsibility? That's what I'm saying, like, is it in our
Well,
home rule charter? Is it in,
okay,
like, where is it?
it's common sense.
Okay, so that's,
You know,
that's what we have
okay.
written documentation, because not everyone has common
Okay.
sense. So maybe I'm lacking that, but then if you could document your common sense, then we could all draw from that, I guess.
Okay,
But,
but I agree, I'm sorry. Sorry to cut you off.
no, and
I agree, but to say that I did something like, I got called there. I didn't, this was like, why didn't they say, Mr. Lelm is harassing us, blah, blah, blah. No, they called me in to ask me, said, oh, we got some information. I go in there and I get interrogated. I could go in, you don't know what kind of language they use, and I'm not gonna use that in front of this camera.
so, okay, all I'm saying is, so just remember this, here's the quote, I guess. So the only difference between salad and garbage is timing, okay? So the proper time to address these issues with McLean County would be after all the public records are released, after you can have the body cam footage, after you can have your complaint, not during our police contract discussion where we're just trying, should we do this? So all I'm saying is, like, no matter how long it takes, gather the evidence, then, hey guys, we got issues. Then we can talk about it, we can all view the same things, because at this point we just have to take your word for it, which I'm not overly interested in doing against, like, the police, because they just have that back and forth, right?
Well,
So that's all I'm saying, Mark.
but I
It's
just-
it's just bad timing.
Sure,
So I'm
yeah,
not saying the issues
timing
are
wasn't
invalid.
great, but
And
if
that's
you-
why I'm trying to get us away from that. And
okay.
so in the future, if it is an issue, definitely we can talk about it for sure, but.
Okay, thank you. So I'm very transparent, like 100%. And if somebody brings something up, I'm gonna be honest and transparent. I shared my emails with Jamie because I can trust him.
So you're only transparent with people you trust, or? like,
Oh,
what do you mean?
with my personal emails, yes.
Okay.
That's why I didn't bring them here, because I don't want my public emails spread out through Washburn, okay? would you share all your public emails?
I mean, you kind of made it a public email by sending it to another commissioner about city business, so I
I
could
didn't-
request it. Anyone
I
can
didn't send
request
it to anyone.
You just told me you sent it to Jamie.
No, I didn't. I showed it
just-
to him.
He let me read it,
Oh, okay.
and then he
Gotcha.
took it back.
But regardless, it was just not the right timing. So like, let's gather all our evidence
Sure.
first.
Okay.
And then if there's accusations to make, do that after.
Okay.
That's
But-
all I'm saying.
Okay, but you accused me at the last meeting that I was making this up. And I said, you'll apologize when you see my email,
Sure,
right?
maybe I will, for sure.
Okay.
But just the evidence,
Sure.
right? So that's what we should be doing before we're publicly accusing people in front of the whole town on Facebook Live. Like, this is not for that. This is
Sure.
for city business, like police contracts. But if there's an issue with how people are policing or how ice cream people are selling ice cream or whatever it is,
Right.
it should be done with evidence properly in order and procedurally, not kind of off the wall, boom, 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 you know what I mean? It
Well,
makes it more
I guess-
calculated.
I guess I look at it as being more transparent than maybe, being thoughtful.
So, I mean,
You know,
all I'm saying
but I
is-
don't, okay, one second.
Yeah.
I think being truthful and honest and transparent is what this community needs. I mean, for you, it might be too much too soon, but I'd rather deal with the issue than move on, than try to play patty cake with somebody so they don't get their feelings hurt.
But here's the deal. You keep using the word transparent, but I don't think you know what that means. A window is transparent. You can see through it. You're saying you're being transparent, but then you're not showing your receipts. You're just trying to make a purchase. So release the emails so we all can see, instead of just my friends can see these secret emails that has this. That's not being transparent.
Well, if you can't trust Jamie, but that's fine.
I just think,
I think we're really out
Yeah.
to lunch here. I mean,
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
so far in the
Yes.
ditch here, it's
No,
time to
is
vote
there
on
any
it,
more-
move on.
We gotta,
The biggest thing was Wilton contacted him about the police force cost is different than what Washburn's was. Maybe he was wrong of just taking it on his own. He should have sent it over to her because she's got the police portfolio. But he just wanted to bring that in light. He just ended up having to talk about public safety and for whatever reason, but we are getting a little out of hand, but it never got as deep a detail as it just did tonight when that last meeting, as far as public safety.
Sure.
So, but, so I'm just.
I understand what you're saying, but the details should not be out there.
Right,
yes.
yes,
It's
I
libelous and
agree with
slanderous
you,
to
what was
say.
said tonight probably shouldn't have been said.
And that's not, like, even tonight, we're going too far.
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
can it not be more guarded language until it's like nailed in? You know what I mean?
I agree, but,
Like,
but
that's-
where it all started was that Wilton asked him to contact the sheriff's department why the cost is so much different. And he
the
took it
hours.
upon himself to look into it when he should have passed it on to her, cause she's got the portfolio.
Yeah, there was no issue with that. It
Yeah.
was like, obviously, they're targeting this, that, they did this, and these words that they used, I will not use it on Facebook, that's like, no. Let's
All right.
just bring it in a little bit, okay, that's all I'm trying to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
Okay.
and thank you for, I think
All right.
even the best business can improve, and then just what's the proper channels to bring up the improvements you wanna see that business make, and this so like you said, maybe a better vessel to get that information, through the appropriate, portfolio to that and up there in a way, this is something we should work on, I guess. is-
But I just want to put it out there that I do not make up stories. Everything that I've said in front of this commission is 100% true. Okay?
So we can check out those facts, right?
Pardon me?
So we could check out the facts if you say something.
Sure. Yeah, nobody came and talked to me about,
I think it's time to.
but I seen this letter and it's like,
I think it's time to vote and move on.
Sure.
Mark. Enough
Thank
is-
you, Tim.
Enough is enough.
yeah, Keith?
For the vote, Oh, yes.
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 And no. All right, we're gonna move on. Thank everybody's support. All right, janitorial resignation.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to hire for a new janitor again. I really appreciated Katrina, she's done a great job, but, her family will be moving, which good for her. So I guess I would like to accept this. She said she'll stay on until we find somebody new or until they move. So I guess I would like to get it out there and get it published as quickly as possible to try and get somebody new to come in. That way we don't have a lapse in there and Katrina could train them as long as she's still here. I don't want to look at hiring a business or just an individual again, because we kind of ran into that the last time.
Can we put it out as either and see, like, cast the broad net and see what we
We can do
get?
whatever you'd like.
How would you do that though?
I don't know.
We're hiring a business for this much, but if you're a private
Right.
entity.
No, I know, that's why
I
I
don't know how you
asked.
do that.
But the
So-
one thing about a business, well, if somebody quits, it's kind of their deal to fill the void, so they probably would charge more to take on that.
Mhm.
I guess let's stop. Let's accept her resignation,
Right.
Oh,
and then we have the advertised for the janitor position where we can discuss all that. I kind of jumped ahead,
Nope,
sorry.
you're fine.
I would move that we would regretfully accept her resignation and thank her for her service.
I'll second that. Keith?
I guess, yeah, I'll just say real quick, great job. She did an excellent job. Nothing but high marks in HR. Yeah.
Sure.
It went very, very well.
Any more discussion? If not, Keith?
Yes.
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 And yes. Okay. Advertise for janitorial position.
Does the HR have any ideas on this? Cause
Yeah.
you just went through this.
Yeah,
We did just go through this.
yeah.
You think we should start the process kinda, since it's, how many months has it been since she's been here for what, a couple?
Mhm.
6,
Just about, yeah.
right?
So you almost have to start the process of interviewing again.
We
But
would add
what's
her-
your input?
But there's also that business in town, Nelson, I think. There's just a little bit of confusion. He was one of them that we interviewed, but then he was also starting the business, and it appears as if he's doing a really good job around town with other businesses or commercial properties. So he'd be maybe possibly get a quote or something. That'd be like option one. I don't think we should do both at the same time. You know what I mean? But possibly get a quote and then maybe just, if that's not gonna work for us, open it up for hiring. So maybe at our next HR meeting, we could maybe just get together some numbers, and I can help with this, where we could see, okay, so this is about how much cleaning costs us for the employee, right?
Yep.
It's not just like wages, but if there was anything else with that, and then getting a quote from him.
Can you put that in a form of motion, please?
I
So
don't
that
want
way
to yet
we
because
can
I
move
wanna,
on?
I wanna see which way yeah, I guess that would be one option.
I think maybe what we should do is just designate this to HR, to just pursue what they feel would be the best option and then bring their results back.
Okay. Yeah, that might be a
Yeah, we can
better
have a
way.
full meeting
Yeah.
last
I'll
week,
second.
so.
I'll second Tim's motion.
I don't know if I made a motion yet, I was just making a suggestion, so. But anyway,
Sounded like it.
I think it sounds something that falls into their, prerogative to do, so I would rather that it go through them and, like I said, you guys can do the research. So I would move that we would refer the hiring of a new janitorial to HR to come back with their recommendation on whether to, open it up to business, whether you guys can do the research on that and come up with on what you guys think would be a fair price, whether we hire someone or not. But anyway, you guys can figure the specifics, but you guys are in charge of, you guys are in charge of the hiring, you do the interviewing, you do all that, so.
I'll second that official motion. Any more discussion? Not hearing. Keith?
Yes.
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 And yes. All right. E2S update.
hello to the new faces. Like I said, I'm Abby Ritz. I work at A2S with Eric. I help with project funding. So any of the grant or loan applications that the city submits, typically I'm the one that puts those together. So I come with updates from Eric and then a few talking points and questions for the commission just on which direction we want to go for funding on your different projects. So, do you have anything written out for Eric, or should I just go off of the email I have?
You can just go off the email.
Okay, so the seal coat project, he said there's nothing new to report. Contractor initially planned for July, August timeframe. They're expecting July, or to complete the work. They're expecting to start in July. It's determined by a McLean County patching job that they currently have going. So they'll be in touch, and Eric will pass that along as soon as he can regarding kind of timeline. I have contracts that need signatures. Do you want those at the end, or should I pass them around now?
Let's do it at the end.
Okay, that's all good. So that's between the city and the contractor for the seal coat project. PRV project, the contractor has ordered materials and will start work when they arrive within 4 to 8 weeks here. In regards, I don't think I have anything for the PRV project. Drainage project, that's the big topic where luckily Lynn was able to come to the meeting with me as well here. So Commissioner Weber was going to follow up with landowners on acceptability and feasibility of development and drainage proposals. He does not have anything new to report on that. Do we maybe want to start on that as an update? And I have things to discuss depending on the results of that.
Sure. I think we should let Abby present. Do you have more of what Eric was, his plans? Do you have more of what he was
So
presenting to
essentially,
the
I
city?
think we're kind of waiting to see. So you know, the cities did a study a while back, right, where we looked at where we wanted the water to go, whether it was west or east. And now the route that you guys have been discussing is essentially a third alternative. So we want to look at, you know, updated numbers and feasibility depending on if the route you've discussed with that landowner is feasible. And then I can touch, well, I guess, so as far as funding goes, right? So there's a drainage piece and then there's a street piece. I guess regardless of which direction you want to go, for the streets, the city is interested in updating those streets. The legislature approved additional funding for the Flexible Transportation Grant Program, one of the only grant programs that we have through the state for road projects. We have submitted this project last round, but we're not successful. I would like to resubmit and get rolling on that sooner, right? We know the funds have been awarded to this program. I would like to get rolling on the application sooner rather than later. That way we can work with the Water Resource Board, get letters of support and just kind of flesh out that application rather than waiting until we have a 3-4 week window and then having to rush to get everything done at the end. So I guess I would be looking for commission approval to get started working with the Resource Board on application for the road improvements.
I would so move. That's the one that we were kind of late in the game.
Exactly, yes.
We had like 2 weeks to jump into that
Yes.
thing, so yeah.
Yep, so, and we have a draft application, right, so like, I don't anticipate a ton of my time actually filling that application out. I don't imagine there'll be a lot of big changes, but it'll be coordination and kind of pieces to beef up and make our application better.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I'd move that we would go ahead and approve that, for you to do that.
Second.
Is there any more discussion? I guess
Okay, the only thing I would add, if you're in your discussion, is that there is water available because the water is coming into the city from outside the city. And those two quarters of land, you know, I call them the renter girls, that's not correct anymore, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That's not next to the city, is it? I mean, that's outside of the city limits. And so there would be money available.
Well, one's in and kind of one's out, right?
Yeah.
One is in, yes.
That's
Yeah,
right.
one's in, one's out.
Okay, but there's money, because there's water coming in from the outside, there is grant money available through the water board for projects like this. Once a project is put together, they have to do a cost benefit analysis. You're familiar?
We will touch on that, yes.
Yeah, and I think A2S does those in-house, yeah. So that's part of the whole process, but part of what, you know, when discussing with, Jamie, looking at, is there another alternative? Well, I worked with, Shannon Jeffers, who is a, registered civil engineer. He's on our board. And he and Chris had looked at the option of taking the water east versus taking the water south. And, you know, at a face, looking at it face-wise, taking the water east seems to make a lot more sense because you have those peak years of 10, 25, 50-year floods, 100-year floods that you have to deal with all that water coming right down through the center of the city. And so if you could take that water east of town and run it through that waterway there, it would seem to make a lot more sense. And so what we've done is Shannon has taken all of the shots and turned them over to an engineering company to develop a set of plans and a kind of a cost estimate, so we'd have some kind of an idea what the cost estimate would be versus what Eric had worked on at A2S. Now, Eric said that he had worked on it, on the alternative that he's looking at right now, but he said he'd also looked at the alternative of taking the water east. And I guess I'd like to have the commission request, seeing what those facts and numbers are when he looked at taking the water east.
So, okay, would you like to finish the motion regarding the streets before we
Right.
move on to the?
Okay.
plan?
Yeah.
We're kind of,
So-
we're ahead of the game.
Motion in a
Yeah.
second.
So I have a what are the engineering expenses for this process approximately?
For the flex fund application specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric's gonna develop a new, if he hasn't already, we'll have a current cost estimate, project location map, that's it for engineering, to get the application put together. If we are selected and we move forward, it's state funding, so there's no federal, bid requirements or environmental,
And
it's.
some of this has been done already in the past.
Yes,
application.
exactly,
That's
yeah.
why it's a good deal. just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
it's
it.
just
Yeah, I
updating-
just wanna make sure we
For sure,
cover the bases.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
updating
mean-
documents and then,
I
go
would
ahead.
say, yeah, we're interested in this. However, can we know what it costs to get that done? And
Sure.
what the stipulations would be with getting that grant money? I mean, what kind of terms that comes with?
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
totally interested,
Yeah.
but just,
So like I said, it's, so a lot of times when you're getting grants through the state DOT, technically the funds are coming from the US DOT, right? It's federal funding that the state is administering, and there's all sorts of environmental and bid requirements that come with it. This does not have that. It is state funding, so we don't have any environmental, we don't have any engineer reports that we have to put together. It literally is, you can go, get your plans together, bid it, based off of, what's legally required as a municipality, and then move forward with your project. So no additional costs outside of developing plans, for the bidding. I don't have good numbers on what it costs to put together plans and specs. I'm sure Eric would have better numbers for that. Do you need that before you wanna make a decision?
good question.
I think there's a time frame where we wanna get in on this, you know.
Can-
'cause
So they have not announced an application window. I think when I talked to the administrator at a conference, I wanna say August, September. There's flexibility, right? If you feel like you want a standard quote on time, I honestly think it's not gonna take a lot just because to actually submit the application, the cost beyond that to move forward, well, actually,
Like, would you have just a rough estimation? You know what I mean? Cause like, paying
So-
$100,000 for $100,000 grant, obviously that's not what
Yeah,
this is,
yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? I think
Sure.
just cost
So-
benefit.
So I have I think Eric put a cost estimate, an updated cost estimate for the total project back in February. And, we had 100,000 for engineering, legal, and administration, so he's not and if you say half that cost is drainage and half is street, so 50,000 for engineering all the way through.
Is that still for the project together?
Yes.
Well, we're not talking about the engineering. I think they're just talking for the application.
Oh, just for the application?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Honestly, if it took me 10 hours, so if I'm at, less than $2,000. Yeah, and I bill hourly, so if it takes me less time, then I bill you less.
meant obviously just information, if it's a little bit more like that's,
Right,
we're just
yes,
looking for
yes,
relevant
and I'll
concepts.
keep in touch with Chelsea, I mean, we'll definitely keep an eye on how much I'm billing. So, I mean, I can even deliver a final application to the commission with a dollar amount on what it costs to submit, if that's of interest.
Yeah, that would actually be, because we could just kind of know.
Yeah,
You know, 'cause
yeah,
then it's like, oh,
benchmark
we
it as
got
you keep
this,
submitting
yeah.
different things,
Right.
absolutely, yeah, not a problem at all.
So what do you wanna do with the motion in the second on the table then?
I guess we can move to voting if there's no
Yep.
more discussion.
And then,
Can I
Oh,
say
we
something?
have a question.
I think Lynn's idea of taking that water and going east to that waterway that's
Can we,
east of
can we,
town.
Dan, we're not on that subject now, we jumped
We're
ahead, we're
getting to
backing
it.
up here.
We're getting
Oh,
there.
okay.
Very soon, Mr. Knight.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're on the
I
road,
apologize.
road application.
Okay, I apologize.
Or road grant applications, that's, yeah, so. When we're in discussion, is that where we're at?
Whether
say
to
yes.
vote or not to vote, so I mean,
Yeah.
it would be a great grant to get, and you're not gonna get it unless you apply for it. So,
We've had
So-
pretty good luck, I mean, we'll see what they come out with as far as requirements and parameters, but I mean, we got over $4 million for the city of Beach last round, so we've had some successes.
Yeah, I mean, going by what people were saying earlier with these special assessments, I mean,
Right.
people wanna see these grants, so I mean, can we, say if we go ahead and do this, can we just get a follow-up with an estimated,
For sure,
what,
yeah.
you know, we wanna do it, cause we wanna go for, I think we all wanna go for as many grants as we can,
Mhm.
so.
Right.
So,
Okay, yes,
I'm gonna call for a vote.
Yes.
yes,
yes.
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 and then, like I said, I'll keep you in the loop as we start working on where costs land. Okay, so, kind of pivoting, that's the road piece, you know, we talked about drainage, so I had a call with the Department of Water Resources today, and, they said this project would be eligible for cost share, which is grant funding for the drainage piece of the project. Now, there's a caveat on that, right? So State Water Commission will fund drainage projects as long as they're rural. When it comes to drainage within city limits, they consider that stormwater and ineligible for grant funding. So regardless of which alternative we pick, whether it's going west through town or going east, they would fund that project. But only for the water that is coming from outside city limits. So, there would be some grant funding, but they're gonna modify their eligibility to remove, so say 50, I mean, I know this is not correct, but say 25% of the water going through this drainage is city, you know, from city limits. Then they're gonna reduce our grant funding by 25%. But even so, best case scenario, you get 60% grant funding. That would still be a very big win for the city on the drainage piece of things. So, depending on where so I talked with Eric, and he said where we're sitting right now is we need to know if that third route, that third alternative is viable. And so he said, we wanna be realistic about, is the owner interested in involvement? Is there an opportunity for easements? If there is, then it would go to Eric and he could develop a cost estimate for that third alternative. And we can incorporate the grant funding opportunity and have an apples to apples discussion on what's gonna be the lowest cost and the best benefit for the city. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's where I think I'd turn it over to you guys if you've had some discussions with the landowners and if they're interested in an easement.
Jamie and Larry have talked to the landowners, I think.
Yeah, so, correct me if I get off topic here, Larry, but from our conversations, yes, I mean, in a nutshell, I got a hold of one of the two owners that would be affected with this drainage. The Gundersons would be interested to sell to a developer, and that's where we left it, because we wanted to see if this is even possible, and so, but that is not,
is the drainage in both of theirs, or is it just in Creams, or?
well, I think it'll go through both of them, don't you?
They'll go through both of them.
Well, okay.
Actually, a large part of the water coming down from the north, I would say perhaps 85 to 90% of the water, you know, is coming from outside of the city.
Right.
So good
I mean,
news as far as grant
which is good
funding
news,
goes.
and,
Yeah.
and,
So it
So-
comes off of Elmer Schultz's and Josephson's. and that
yes,
whole area.
yeah. And so then diverting that water seemed to make good sense, and so we were looking at, we wanna know what Eric had looked at in his initial study,
Sure.
cause he said at the last meeting that he'd looked at it, but he didn't think it was feasible, but we'd like to see what
Sure.
paperwork he had. And, Shannon Jeffers is working on a, cost estimate and plans that could be used by AE2S to, and the water board will pay for that work. But the, give you guys an idea of what the cost is to take the water east. And then the other thing is, and we just touched on it a little bit, once we submit things, and you talked about, what, 60% grant money or 70% grant money, it depends on, the water commission has a lot of options, it's just how you work through it. But at the end, they have what they call a cost benefit analysis. In other words, when you got the project and let's say they're gonna give you, the full grant amount is 60%. Then they'll do a cost benefit analysis, but it depends on how much damage water can do when it comes through town. What I look at is, we should be able to get 100% of the cost basis. But in some cases where we've looked at projects, they would give 60%, but we were only eligible, say, for 50% of that 60% because they do what they call this cost benefit analysis. But in the case of the water coming down through Washburn, there's potentially a lot of dollars of damage potential. And that's what they look at, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right. So I don't necessarily have any action at this time. It sounds like we're waiting on Shannon to finish up.
I
his
hopefully we'll
item.
have that within a week to
Okay.
2 weeks.
Okay, and as far as a timeline goes, so we're about to start a new biennium with the state, and State Water Commission has a priority list that they put together every biennium, and only projects on that list are eligible to submit for the first 6 months. Obviously, this project is not on that list. So what that means is the city can start requesting grant dollars for design and construction January 1st of next year. So I guess that would be my suggestion, is that we kind of have a game plan by the end of the year, so that whichever route we decide to go, we can request design dollars at the beginning of 2026 to start moving forward with design. Ideally, then we can kind of work in tandem with the flex fund grant funding and not let this drainage piece sit too long.
So I talked to Pat Fridgen about a week and a half ago, and he's one of the top guys at the Water Commission. And he gave me an open invitation to come in once we have a direction, whether it's in June or July. Once we have a direction, that we can go ahead and sit down and start talking to them about the project so that they know what's coming. So.
Okay.
That would include you guys.
Yeah, so totally not trying to cut A2S out of the picture. We were, city, my portfolio and
Sure,
county
yeah.
water board, we were just looking at that other option.
No, absolutely.
And kind of, they're doing a lot of the legwork. And then the approach was to bring it back to them.
That's correct, yeah.
And work with them to go to the state water board is our approach. And, so I guess if we wanna circle back to the landowners, I got a hold of one of the two. I did, explain that we may be looking for an easement for this project if we go east. And not sure how far we wanna go down this road, because and maybe I'll talk about, maybe we should talk about more of the, trying to adopt more land in a different portfolio. So what's this do we want to stick with the drainage? And I'll just, how do I want to say this? So I did talk to the Gundersons, and, we talked about if they're willing to sell to a developer. And I did bring up if we go east, we may be looking for an easement. So that's what I talked to the first owner. I found out the second one is in a nursing home, and so So I did find out they probably will have to talk to one or both of the sons, so I still need to do that. So for that side of it.
Okay.
So.
I think that Washburn's sitting in a key position. There's a lot of activity out at the power plant. There's a lot of things gonna happen in the next 3, 5 to 7 years. And if you have a developer come in a good area to build a bunch of homes, that would be key. And it's having this legwork that Jamie and Larry did is key to working with the landowners to secure that for a developer.
So I guess I don't necessarily need any more decisions from the commission. I'd like to come to the meeting next month if we can get numbers from you. Whether I'm coming or I'll send it with Eric, right? We can bring costs for the 3 different routes that we've talked about for drainage. And then I can put, grant estimates to those, so we can start having discussions on which way we wanna go. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Can I just ask that we receive those prior to the meeting so everybody can see what is being talked
For
about here?
sure.
Cause right now it's kind of back and forth of
Right.
not knowing routes or where we're going and looking at with that just information being presented. So if we
Yes.
could have that submitted,
Absolutely.
so I can submit that
Yeah.
with their packets. I think it'd be best for everybody involved.
Could I ask if it's, in my portfolio or streets, could it go to her and me
Of course, yeah.
jointly?
Okay. Onward and upward. Let's see here. So lead and copper rule revisions. They're expecting to receive state funding for category B work. He's not exactly sure when. He's waiting to hear back from DEQ on that. I'm assuming he's talked about lead and copper before, and you know what category B is. Okay. So in addition to that, in the last month, I submitted a application or a questionnaire. Getting to add the city to the state revolving funds annual list that they put together. Essentially, it's making the city eligible for funding to replace lead service lines. It does not obligate you, it just puts you on the list so that you have the opportunity to access those funds should you want to apply.
What percentage is that?
So it's loan funding, and then the state offers 66% loan forgiveness. The remaining 34% is loan funded at 0.5% interest for up to 30 years. So very, very good interest rate there. Talking with Eric, the city has identified 15 customer lines that are lead within the city. So at this time, you're on the list, you have the opportunity to apply should you decide to do so. I'm also want to give you an update on federal funding. So if you've seen headlines, maybe you have not. The 2026 federal budget has significant cuts to many departments, including EPA, that provides funding for state revolving fund, the main source of loan funding, as well as all of this lead funding that's providing technical assistance. That program's EPA is receiving, well, this is all draft, right? It's not approved yet, but EPA is looking at a 50% budget cut. The state revolving funds that fund all of our water and wastewater work, they're being cut 89%. So unless the Congress goes significantly away from Trump's recommendations, we're gonna see a lot of cuts to water and wastewater projects in the future. What that means is after 2026, there's probably not going to be a lot of funding out there for lead replacement, especially grant funding. If the city knows that they want to move forward to replace these lead lines, I would suggest that you look at applying for this funding. We can get it secured now, and then the city moves forward when you're ready. After 26, there won't be any funding to be had. There won't be this special pot of money with the lower interest rate and the grant funding. Right now, the preliminary engineering report and my time to fill out the application are 100% funded by the state. So you can get that secured for free.
So is it a first come, first serve, or it is, so
Yes.
the sooner you
There's
jump.
a finite pot of money, yes,
Yep.
first come, first serve,
Yep.
exactly.
Yes.
Unlike the category B work, where they're kind of working their way through the list based off of
Yep.
community size, this is entirely first come, first serve.
Yeah, so it'd be a no-brainer not to try and get it, cause it doesn't cost any.
It doesn't cost you any money to do it, and then you know you've got lines and you know, starting in 2027 to 28, you're gonna have to start replacing these lines. So if we can get the money set up so you can access the grant funding, I would recommend you do that.
So I would move to apply for that grant, for the cost of the city.
Sorry, second.
That's good.
More discussion?
Nope.
Not hearing any, Keith?
Yes.
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 Okay,
And yes.
thank you. And Eric have anything? Okay, last piece, Riverside Park Road. Eric conducted a walkthrough with commissioners in May. He is working on a scope and cost estimate update for the commission. So I've talked with Chelsea on this. I just wanted confirmation, right? So the city has a grant for the road improvements, but that there is a local match requirement. It's my understanding that the commission wants to use sales taxes for that local match. Is that correct? Or has there been
Possible.
discussion?
There
Okay.
hasn't really been discussion.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up is because the main loan program that you'd use for road improvements, the one we used for the last road project through Bank of North Dakota, they did not receive any additional money from the legislature this year. So they have limited loan funds, and they're switching from a first come first served basis to set application deadlines. So what that means is if you think you're going to want loan funding, we have to kind of time it based off of when their deadlines are going to be. We know we have one coming up this month, and we'll have one later in the fall. So not that we need to, apply and run around and apply this month, but if the city thinks you want to use loan funding, and then, whether that's secured through sales taxes or whatever it might be, or schedules, I guess I'd like to nail that down so I can get you on my list, and we can kind of prepare the loan application.
Is that like a 2%?
Yes, yep, same terms that we had for this last one. It's 2% for up to 20 years.
Well, the project isn't really that large, is it?
Right.
So 1 cent sales, I think we would be, I guess personally, I think would be okay using 1 cent.
Wasn't it, the grant was 240,000 or something?
I believe so.
And
That
then
sounds
we would
about,
pay
do you remember the
60,000
dollar amount?
roughly.
It was about 240, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't mean we're gonna spend 240.
No.
So yes, it's cost shared at I believe 60%.
But I guess where I'm struggling is what approach do we do with that road? Because previously, we had talked about getting a surveying company or not a geotech, and to do a survey, and I think that was like 70,000.
Right.
So and that would be out of our pocket, cause this grant doesn't cover that.
Correct,
Right.
this is for construction,
And it
not
doesn't
for planning.
cover engineering fees.
Mhm.
So, I mean, say we spent 240, we'd pay 60,000 plus if we did that geotech, that'd be out of our pocket.
Mhm.
And then I'm just gonna say it's next to the river. That is a tricky situation, isn't it? I mean, that
It's continually moving.
yeah. Are we just going to use that money and make it work for the next 15, 20 years? Or are we gonna go dig into it, get that surveyor, dig down and try to secure that ground? Cause we could go,
So I would say there was a specific scope that was submitted with this grant application. If we significantly change the scope of the improvements you're making, I don't know if the DOT will still fund it.
okay, and that's right, cause I probably have it here somewhere, but, he wanted to put a grade on the riverside, right? He wanted to fill that.
Well, but we also wanna do some elevation checks
Yeah,
also,
and,
so we can figure out maybe what our options are.
well, yeah, because there's digging up the road and doing all that, right? And getting that geotech, there's doing all that. Do we wanna do that? I mean, does
Yeah.
anybody have any say or?
One thing
input?
too, I think that and I apologize, I didn't think it was that, the road is ours, but the property isn't. It's park board property. So
Yeah.
really, it's not building and grounds of ours, they're just as political subdivision. But I think it would be wise for us to include, with you, Jamie, a park board member for their property. it's not our property. So, so I think that would be the proper thing, and I don't think that would affect the funding at all either, cause they're a political subdivision of ours. The park belongs to the park board, the street, of course, is taken care of by the city. But I think it'd be more appropriate for Jamie, well, it'd be Keith and Adam are our contact people. You know, go to the park board, okay, this, you know, we've got funding for this is what we wanna do, but you don't wanna just encroach on somebody else's
Okay.
territory, it's not ours, so.
Yep.
And so I think it's, like I said, it's not even a glitch, it's just a communication thing that, you know, and so Jamie could, maybe you and Keith could visit with the park board, and they could maybe appoint a member for their property, so that they know what's going on, and that type of thing, cause it's not city property, it's park board property.
Okay.
Yeah.
See my point, it's just,
Yeah,
it's just,
because it's their land.
it's their land, it's not our land.
Our
So-
road, their land.
Our road, their land. I mean, there is some of it that comes around like that is a street easement, well, that would be yours anyway. But the rest of it's not our building and grounds, it's park board building and grounds. So we just need to have the right people involved in
The
the.
geotech will, you know, they'll do their drilling and they'll give their recommendations to the engineer. And then you could have, beyond the geotech, then you could have substantial cost based on what the engineers study and recommendations are. You could have substantial cost in trying to fix that.
Yeah.
And there's no confidence in 100% fix. You know, you might fix it for 1 or 2 years and then slides off again. That's just the way the land is along the Missouri River.
Well-
It's old, it's million-year-old riverbank.
And we discussed maybe a couple different options,
Yeah.
valley gutters and stuff like that too, so.
And like I said, I don't necessarily need a decision from you right now, I just wanted to put a
Yeah.
plug in that if we decide we want loan funding, there are specific windows we need to hit rather than a year-round application cycle, so.
And we could always
Yeah.
call a special meeting too.
Well,
if
yeah,
need
and
be,
once they
so.
announce like I said, they have a deadline this month, and I know we're going to have one towards the end of 2025, once they announce that deadline. If we haven't made any decision, I'll pass that along to the commission, so
And they,
we can make a decision at that time.
and I probably owe Eric an apology, cause I think I used the term like putting lipstick on a pig or something
No.
like that. But I guess what I'm getting at is there's different ways to do this road. I mean, we could go down a very expensive path and try to like dig out the road and do all that survey.
Right.
Or, we could, and
Fit with the parameters to use the most grant funding and then
yeah, you try to
the
use that
improvements that you
money.
can, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Okay.
so,
Okay. So like I said, he's still working on additional scope and cost estimates for you guys, that'll be hopefully coming next month.
Excuse me, I was gonna visit with Keith. Are you going to work like today, tomorrow?
Friday.
Friday. So would park board meet Wednesday?
Yes.
So would you be available to go to the park board, cause you're our contact person?
Yeah, I believe so.
Could you go to if it's okay with you guys, and I can put it in the form of a motion. Well, I'll put it in a form of motion. I move that Keith would represent us at the park board to, ask them to inform them on what's going on with this property, and ask them to appoint someone on their behalf for their building or for their property there. Because like I said, I think we're a little out of sync here because it's not our property. So it would be Jamie and then a park board member, you know, that would be in the loop because it's their property. They knowing that the funding is coming from us, you know, and that type of thing, but just so that it's regulated through the right channels. So I put that in form of a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Is it okay with you?
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and do that.
Any more discussion on that motion?
So if I just understand it correctly, I go to park board and find Jamie a friend, basically.
Yep.
Then I'll
Maybe we
be
should
out of
send
it,
Jamie
okay.
there to find a friend.
Just don't make me make streets. Yeah, okay, wonderful.
Yeah,
Keith?
Yes.
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 And yes.
And then, I think I cut you off earlier, but, after the last meeting, Eric and Mark and I went down there and just looked at it, and so forth, and I think that's where you're saying, you know, if we take the concept, if we try to utilize the money we have, bestly, we looked at Eric's approach to putting dirt on the side towards the river to get that grade. And then we looked at maybe a curb and gutter, maybe some drainage for water that comes through there. So, and I think that's where I cut you off.
No, that's fine. And then we monitored that 7 days of rain to see how the water was running over the road, and we didn't get a downpour, but we did get, rain over days, and it was,
Good opportunity to check it out.
yeah, I took several pictures and they sent them off there.
And I guess it's not fully on topic, but we just need to, just as we're talking about all these projects, just stay mindful that with diminishing grant funds and all this other sort of things drying up at the top, like how much do we really want to put our grandchildren into debt to
Yeah.
fund these big expensive projects? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, try it. I don't know. It's just what I'm thinking as we're talking about, well, over here and over here, and obviously there's a lot going on, but we should just really,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
So you know what you're supposed to find him a friend. So.
Yes, I'll do that part, and then I'll worry about the other part.
Yeah.
Well, we did discuss Riverside Park issue is a low priority compared to our bigger projects, so.
We're working, that's kind of the main thing I'm kind of working on is this drainage with Lynn is the first thing, and then I suppose after that,
Right.
then Custer
Yep.
Drive is kind of the next big thing, I guess, on what I'm doing.
That's all I had project specific.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put one plug in. So larger communities are required to establish a special assessments policy. City of Washburn is not required to, however, I just wanted to throw that out there if, I know there's been a lot of back and forth. Some cities find it helpful to establish a policy so that you have it in writing and, if you have turnover with commission or staff, it's easy to look back and be consistent on how assessments are being doled out to.
I agree.
So,
That's a good idea.
if there's interest in,
What is that all about, or what, you have say that again, I'm sorry.
yeah, so setting a policy so that, there's a standard, if you have a street project, you assess this way with this method. If you're doing water, they're assessed this method, per parcel, per whatever it might be. And then the commission's only job is to identify those, special instances. And it ensures that things are being done consistently, and you can point to a standard policy rather than, whoever's on the commission at the time making that decision. Not saying that you need to do that, but you might find it helpful
Yep.
as you do additional projects.
Dan, would you find that helpful, being, or
I really didn't hear what she said. Sorry to hear.
Larry's on there too?
Okay, what was that?
So, a lot of cities establish a policy, right, so that, you have standard, if it's a street project, we assess it this way, if it's a water project, we do it this way. And then the commission's only job is to look at the special instances, corner lots or whatever it might be, the unique lot that's not buildable, and then you can make adjustments, but, 10 years down the line, that a street project's gonna be assessed the same way.
I think that would get a lot of that would make citizens happy to have that
I
consistency.
agree.
So,
So,
what's that take to do, or what is that?
I mean, I have plenty of examples of other policies put in place. I would just be kind of getting in touch with Dave, and we could bring a draft to commission to look at next board meeting or next commission meeting.
It would be nice to bring it to the,
Yes,
Special
yes.
Assessment Committee, so.
So.
Sooner the better.
So,
Yeah, I could see that, cause we have to, as a commission, we have to vote on the special assessment, so at least we would have a format to, did you guys do it this
right,
way?
exactly.
So I like that,
Okay.
so.
So I guess I will maybe work with Chelsea just to look at the methodology that's been used thus far, and we'll work with Dave on drafting a policy.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
While you're here, do we wanna talk a little bit about this, what do we call it, development? What's the word for that? If we're,
Well, it would be a,
if we
be
expand,
a expansion development.
yeah. And you're kinda done with your
I am,
stuff.
yes, that was
Okay.
it.
And then we.
Thanks, Abby.
Of course.
But I don't know if she wants to stick around.
I will, I'll stick till the end.
I'm just thinking how I'm gonna put this together because we met with one of the owners of that land. And then, so I would say we got half a green light to move forward. We still gotta get a hold of the other person. And so where do we wanna go now? Because do we just wanna run out to the developers or finding people, or do we wanna stop here momentarily? And like with A2S, do we wanna look at our sewer? Is that, what would that sewer handle up there? How many houses could this developer put up there? So do we wanna stop now?
Where are you exactly looking at putting this development?
It'd be renters.
In the back area of that's already there, or where this drainage is coming in?
Does this map help you
Yes.
see?
Possibly both, yeah.
Kinda, yes.
I'm pretty sure I know what area it is, but it hasn't really exactly been stated, so I'm questioning it.
This is probably not such a good map. But basically, you know, and I should probably have a better map.
All of this
Well, that's up
back
there by
here,
the cell tower, right?
Up
right?
by the cell tower,
If it's the
it'd be
same
back
maps.
here, it would be around here. And
It's
then
that
there's,
whole open area, Chelsea.
and there's potential frontage,
Commercial frontage.
commercial frontage, so.
Are you looking at purchasing this whole lot where the county shop is? Or are you looking at just purchasing this? Like, I don't, there's so many questions that nothing's been
Yeah,
presented.
and
So that's why I'm questioning
and
it.
this is why I'm stopping, and this is why
So
I'm
we're not-
stopping.
we're not-
Sorry.
We're not implying that the city should buy it. What
No.
we're trying to do is
Right.
get, the okay from the two ladies. And the one that's in a nursing home, her sons, get permission that they're willing sellers.
Yeah,
Then that opens it up so that a developer, you don't want the city to have to go in there and buy the property and start the development.
yeah.
You want
See
a
this mess
developer,
over here.
pardon me?
You see this mess over here.
Yeah, well, you want a developer to come in and
Yeah,
that's the questions that the developer will ask the city and AE2S, well, how many homes can be built in this area, and in this area? And that takes in your storm sewers and your water and sewer and all the various things that happen in a development. But that's what a developer will do. They'll go to like AE2S because he's Washburn's engineer. Yeah, or AE2S is Washburn's engineer, and they'll go to them and say, this is what we're doing, what can we do, and then usually they need engineers to develop the plots, each lot, and water to each lot, electricity, and so on and so forth, the sewer, water and sewer. And part of our discussion, because Shannon is a civil engineer, we had talked, in this development, we had talked about taking the stormwater east also in the as part of that drainage, so to take the pressure off of Washburn, to move all that stormwater east.
Cause a lot of it isn't our water.
yeah.
Well, absolutely, and it's coming from the outside, but instead of running it down through the city, run it east around town.
Well, this is where this kind of morphed is, we're going over this project with Eric and looking at that, and then that's when we got to talking, well, what about, this field here, yeah, a lot of this water comes from up in the county, it comes through here, then it's collected through this 21-inch and going through there currently. And then we were trying to well, let's take it around this way. Well, then we got to looking, well, what if this ever did get developed? And so that's what kind of morphed this whole thing. So that's where we're at with it, is it, I don't know if the term is give a pig a pancake or what, but,
You like the pigs?
I
yeah.
guess.
So,
Likes
yeah,
bacon.
good, I do, yes. But that's where this is morphing. And so that's where this kind of started when we first met this winter about this project. And so now going back to the development, before we start talking to potential developers, do we want to stop right now and get with planning and zoning and A2S and get some kind of study of if there was more development up there, how much will our existing sewer handle? That would probably be one of the bigger problems with development, so going forward.
And I guess Eric and I visited probably a year ago, in this year, and how much more can our sewer system handle? So it's a discussion we've had, but we didn't do a study on it. whether it be our ponds or anything else, so. Of course, that's gonna be a big contributing factor, because if you had to enlarge your system down here, you know, it can be pretty costly, so. But, yeah,
I was at a meeting, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was at a meeting at the plant last fall, and the engineers out there talked about that the employee base between the coal mine and the plant, the employee base would double in size. Based on the CO2 and the data centers and all the things that they're doing. And if that happened, you know, could Washburn gain 100 homes?
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Could they gain 200 homes? That would be even more fantastic.
well, and I guess that's why I'm in the discussion,
Yeah.
we need to see, cause it may not just, it may be infrastructure all the way down to the bottom. You know,
Yeah.
that's why we need to make sure that we're ready for it.
And, you know, just with streets, you know, riding around with Zach and Jerry when we were looking at crack filling and just looking at products, you know, we looked at Heritage and like Zach brought up, you know, what are we gonna do with Heritage? Cause it doesn't have a crown to it. So unfortunately, whatever developer developed that, there's no crown on the road, so that water just sits on the road and destroys the road. So what kind of roads are we going to accept from a developer? You know, and what you know,
Standards.
so are we going to stop and kind of go start developing our standards for the development before it kind of goes the other way on us? You know, we adapt something in that we ask for, and it's not exactly to par. So,
Right.
so I feel that's where we're at right now.
Well, probably the thing is to get more of a solid commitment on whether they're willing to sell, you know.
Yeah, we're fortunate that Larry has a good relationship, and Jamie they have a good relationship with the two ladies.
Yep.
And their families, which is very important.
Yep.
To find out, you know, that they are, you know, willing to allow that land to be developed.
You know, they're not gonna take payments. I mean, whoever comes in's gotta buy it in full and be done with it. And that's the tricky part with us. You know, I would hate to go and get somebody and that turn south on them. That would, I mean, that's what sucks to be a middleman here. But
you have to start someplace.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wait a year or 2 years, you're gonna be lost in the dust.
Yeah. So,
And when Eric gets back, I can visit with him on water and sewer capacity. So.
yeah, and then do we
Or if you
wanna,
wanna put that on there.
Yeah.
And one thing that's pushing this to this east drainage is our issues within city limits
Absolutely,
now. So
absolutely. And
we're gonna try to
it would minimize.
play positive and.
It would minimize the water issues that you're having. And it's those peak high flow years, you know, the 25 and 50 and 100 year flows that, you know, that we seem to be getting more often.
well, then we just looked at earlier in the meeting, we just looked at a plugged culvert, you know, so I guess I don't wanna poo-poo this existing project, but I do have concerns about a culvert running that far. Cause, I mean, even looking at that one, well, the owner down at the end of Maine sent me a picture of our storm drain plugged up down there. So I mean, we're kinda talking about an open ditch
Yes,
system
yes.
versus a culvert.
Yes.
For some of those reasons, so I'm not, you know, talking bad about this, but my concern would be
Yeah.
that distance of a culvert and the potential problems. So,
We did a project up in Underwood, I don't know, it's 11, 12 years ago, and there was a lot of open ditch. But it's literally solved, there was a couple lift stations that were put in, but it solved, I'd say 95% of Underwood's drainage issues. Water coming in from the north, the west, and the east, you know, there was peak flow years, you know, 8, 9, 10, and 11, where we had a lot of water.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you
That's
for
it.
that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you
All
very
right.
much.
We're gonna move right along, portfolios. Do you have anything?
The library wall still isn't finished, getting primed, so I'll check in
They're getting to that on Thursday.
with that, thank you. And then the summer reading program kicked off today, she has about 50 kids signed up, 70 kids were there today, so.
Keith?
Yeah, I'll just do what we talked about here for the cleaning and park board meeting. Beyond that, nothing from this past month report that wasn't covered.
I have something for you to bring up with the park board. So our, ash roll-off bin in the back is actually sitting on park board property.
Okay.
If, talk to them, see if it's an issue, if not, maybe we can leave it there, or maybe we can have them scooted over onto city property.
Excellent, okay,
Just wanna bring that up.
I can do that.
Tim, nothing? Jamie, kinda covered it
Yeah,
all, or
I
is
think
there
I-
anything
no,
else?
I don't- unless there's something that, we had that airport board meeting, but, was there anything there you think we should bring up, cause you were there?
They're working on a grant to do some work out there. They've submitted, I believe, their paperwork.
Yeah,
They're just waiting on, the okay to move forward.
and we had to vote on the engineer out there, and we got the same one back that was there previously, so we had to vote on that, and that's how that went.
KLJ.
KLJ is still the engineer out there, so,
Okay. That's it?
so that's all, that's what I got.
I don't have anything, so, is somebody here from the fill in for Adam?
No.
Okay. Do you have anything, Chelsea?
As a reminder, our tree dumping is for trees only. That does not include your wood shavings. It does not include wood stumps. It does not include anything else that you wanna dump back there. It's for trees only.
Nothing over 4 inches.
Nothing, yes, thank you. I will be working on our budget the next coming weeks, so if you have any budget requests, I sent out an email, but as a reminder, anything for budget requests, to get those to me. The winch system was replaced over at the hall, just waiting on the electrical work to be done, and then they'll be functional again. So as of right now, the hoops cannot be used. They are up, and they cannot go down until the electrical is done. And there is a library board opening. Is there gonna be two?
I mean, yeah, when Katrina moves, probably,
I'm gonna say, yeah, so there'll be two. I think that'll come up. But for sure, there is one that is open right now that we're looking to appoint in July. So if you're interested in serving on the library board, please submit a letter of interest.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, next meeting, July 14th. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, Tim. Keith? Good.
Yeah, we can go down a little bit.
Can I get signatures
Oh,
from,
sure.
yeah, I think we have 3
Can
copies.
I borrow your pen? So I'll
Yes.
sign it.
Okay, so I think